Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Macedonia-thrace Northern Greece 2022 asynchronous Christmas event. As you can see, there are 4 videos. Each one of us has contributed one. And in these videos, we hope to give you some ideas for activities to use in your classroom the week before Christmas. So let's start with my suggestion. I'm going to present an activity that I love using because it's extremely versatile. It can be adjusted to different levels and also with different age groups and different levels. So let's get started. First of all, every time we want to describe customs, we see that students fail to realize, especially at lower levels, that the festive time of the year is different in different countries and also parts of the world. Therefore, it's important for them to be able to talk about international Christmas customs, but it is also extremely important that they are able to talk about their local customs, understand the difference between the two, and to be able to present what we do here in our country. So let's have an overview of this session. I'm first going to talk about the aims and the learning outcomes of this activity, how it is set up, the 2 phases of the activity, and suggestions for some follow-up tasks. As I present, you will notice that I give some, let's say, points for choice. So you can opt out at any point of these and make this activity as concise or as extended as you might wish. So the aims and the learning objectives of Christmas National and International is, first of all, to expose learners to vocabulary related with describing customs, food, how we prepare it. We are going to engage learners in describing Greek customs in their L2 and engage them in researching online to find customs in other countries. So we will also engage them in some presentation. So we will hone their presentation and speaking skills. If we opt to use the video, which is something, let's say, separate, then we engage learners in understanding for gist and taking notes. The learning outcomes follow the aims, so they will be able to use specific vocabulary to describe customs. They will be able to describe Greek customs using accurate vocabulary, and they will be able to identify information related to international customs on the internet. They will also be able to present a short talk or a short presentation on the topic of their choice. If we choose to do the listening, which is suggested from B1 onwards, they will be able to identify the main points. So how is this activity set up? And this is my practical side of the task. So the first step is to write Christmas customs. Now, the students might not know the word customs. This is an anticipated problem, especially if we are teaching a B1 or A2 plus, but quite strong class. In this case, we would explain that customs are things that we do every year and are related with a specific time of the year or with specific holidays. Now, the first custom that is going to come up is the Christmas tree, then carol singing, then having lunch and dinner with the family, giving presents, the stockings. But at some point, as we record the ideas on the whiteboard, it will so happen that one of the children will say something, for example, melomakaron, kurabiedes, vasilopita. And they will say, miss, what's vasilopita in English? Miss, what's melomakarona in English? Miss, what's kurabiedes in English? In this case, we don't do anything. We just write the words in Greek on the whiteboard, and then we just present some of the photos. Now, if you notice, in the picture with the vasilopita, you can also see the lucky coin. So this is our golden opportunity for some incidental vocabulary teaching. We have the chance to explain to our learners that these are things, these are culinary pleasures we enjoy here in Greece. And we can provide the way to talk about this. So What is a good way to talk about Greek customs? We can explain using English vocabulary. For example, the Vasilopita is a kind of cake which takes quite a long time to make. It's not just 1 hour. It needs kneading, and also we need to wait for the dough to rise. So it takes almost 1 day to make the Vasilopita. And we also put in it a lucky coin. And we can explain that we call it fluri, but the word doesn't necessarily mean the same, doesn't exist as an one-to-one equivalent. So instead of trying to look for an equivalent, describe it. What is it? It's a lucky coin. What happens to the person who gets this piece? They feel lucky for the rest of the year and great things are going to happen to them. So we follow the same thing with the rest of the customs. It's very important to give students some time, especially if they are B2 or C1, so that they can describe this. So if we give them the example with the Vasilopita and we come up with an explanation of what a Vasilopita is, the lucky coin, so on and so forth, then they can put in pairs or groups, depending on how many students we have in our classroom, and they can do the Kurabiedes and the Melomakaroνα on their own. Now, at this point, of course, we can teach a lot of vocabulary from, dough to kneading to, almonds and dry nuts and flour and sugar. If they don't remember, especially flour might be something that might escape their notice. We might also get them to use descriptions and descriptive language. So, for example, for melomakarona, they might say that they're like soft biscuits with honey poured over and some dried nuts. So after we finish this part of the lesson, the students have had experience of describing what we eat on the festive days. We monitor and supply ideas, and we make sure that the students understand that when we describe customs, usually there are no one word word for word synonyms from one language to the other. For the next step, there is a video I would like to suggest. This takes the students onto many countries. For example, it starts with Australia, and it's very interesting, summer Christmas and the Santa Sir. So students can take notes if we want to, and we have the time. We could split this activity onto many lessons, and for this part, we can supply a worksheet. So the students can have a matching task. Which country has which custom? For example, surfing Santas and Australia. This, of course, depends on the length of the lesson or on how many lessons we want to devote. For example, in some schools, we may have, let's say, 20, 30 minutes from the 2 lessons in the Christmas week. This is also related to the level of the learners and whether they enjoy watching and listening in English. If you feel it's too difficult, you can skip this stage. Now, the next stage takes students from receiving information, from understanding information, to collecting information so that they can synthesize it and create something of their own. As you can see, this activity actually follows the taxonomy suggested by Bloom. So we are not wasting our time doing, Christmas crafts or Christmas work. We're actually investing this time. The learners can choose a country. How can they choose a country? In any way possible. It could be a country they like, a country they would like to visit, or a country they have been in, or if we want to narrow down the choice, and if we have done the video and we don't want the students using the same countries, we can suggest, and if we decide to suggest it's a good idea for us to do some research first, let's say 3 or 4 countries, one for each group. Now, in this case, the students need to have their phones or their tablets because they're going to research Christmas customs, New Year's customs, and take notes. At this point, the students can produce, I won't go as far as to suggest PowerPoint presentations. It's best if they produce A4 posters. They can use their colored markers, stickers, to decorate these. We can give them a template if we want, and they can prepare a poster that is not only interesting to listen to when it is presented, but it also looks beautiful. Now, clearly, the activity has two phases. The first phase was receiving information, getting to talk about international customs, then talking about the Greek customs. And then the second phase was the one in which we got the students first to listen to the video and then to research. So the activity has distinct phases. The first one focuses on local customs and how we can translate these in understandable English, and how it's not a problem to say we eat melomakarona, which is a kind of honey biscuit with syrup and dried nuts. And the second stage, with the optional listening bridge, focuses on how Greek students can describe international customs, how they can create posters, or if this is the end of the second lesson and the beginning of the third, or the end of the first lesson and the beginning of the second, and they go home, they can even create PowerPoint presentations. Now, what is going to happen to these presentations? Well, if you do the whole thing in one lesson, each group describes their own countries, well, the countries they've chosen customs, and then they can compare, they can say which one they like more, or we can have a general discussion. But if we have time, we can present the public, the posters in public. How? By going to different classrooms. The posters can be published on the school website. So this is what we have done. The students can present a vlog, so we can ask them to present a short recording on their poster, or they can write a short article on the country's customs. This might make a nice bridge homework. So we worked on that during the Christmas lessons. So now for Christmas homework, write a short article about the Christmas customs in the countries which we discussed. I really like the idea of the vlog personally, as a teacher, as an educator, but also putting my consultant hat on. I like the idea of the school vlog or the school blog and the school website hosting material that has been done in class. You might be wondering what will happen with GDPR and is it legal for students to be seen on video? We can always record without showing the students' faces, and there are ways around this. We can make it an audio. For example, on Screencast-O-Matic, you can definitely record without showing faces. The presentation and the sound of the voice might be the only thing. Obviously, the posters should be exhibited, especially if they look beautiful. The learners can visit the other classrooms that are also doing Christmas activities and make some presentations. And they can also write letters to pen friends. So let me tell you about the customs in my country, and perhaps you can tell me about customs in your country. This is the end of Christmas National and International. I hope you find inspiration. On the closing this presentation, I would like to say how excited I am to be working with such brilliant educators on the TESOL board. The other three of my colleagues that donated their ideas are Maria Polichru, Tanya Livarda, and Antigoni Melidonioti. Dr. Vicky Papachristou was involved in a conference in France, so she didn't have the time to submit one. I would like to say that I am blessed and happy that we all had great ideas, and I feel that it was great that we could contribute in this way. I know that an asynchronous event is a new one for us, but I also think that we've had many new things in the past 3 years, and somehow this has worked well for us. If you notice, I'm using the TESOL logo and there is a bow on it, because for me, and I hope for all of us, TESOL Macedonia-Thrace Northern Greece, our Teachers Association, and our camaraderie through it is the greatest gift of all. So from us to you, 2023 wishes for a productive, healthy, prosperous, wonderful teaching year. All the best to you and yours. Watch all the presentations and tell us what you think. Bye-bye and enjoy the Christmas holidays.